She doesn't fall for the guy with the flashiest smile, the best pickup lines, or even the one who promises her the world. She falls for the guy who doesn't do these three things because in the silence of what he refuses to be, she hears everything her heart has been longing for. She falls for the guy who doesn't make her feel like she has to compete, because she's tired, tired of proving her worth, tired of shrinking herself to fit into someone else's comfort zone, tired of being an option in someone else's game. She falls for the guy who doesn't look at other women while claiming to love her, the one who doesn't flirt with attention but rather holds space for intention. He's the one who makes her feel chosen not just once but every single day, not because she demands it, but because he understands what it means to truly see her. She falls for the guy who doesn't play games, the guy who doesn't text one day and ghost the next, the one who doesn't weaponize silence or use distance as a punishment. Because she's been there. She knows what it's like to sit by the phone and wonder if she's too much, or worse, if she was never enough. She's felt the ache of inconsistency and the sting of false hope. So when she finds a man who shows up, not perfectly but consistently, she notices. She may not say it right away, but deep down her heart takes a breath, because consistency is safety, and safety for her is intimacy. She falls for the man who doesn't make her question her intuition, because her gut is her guide, and for too long she's been gaslit for trusting it. She's been told she's crazy, too sensitive, or insecure, when really her spirit was screaming the truth all along. So when she meets a man who doesn't make her doubt herself, who encourages her to speak her truth, and who listens not to respond, but to understand, she leans in. Not because she needs validation, but because she finally feels seen. She doesn't fall for the loudest man in the room. She falls for the one whose silence is calm, not cold, whose presence feels like peace, not pressure. He doesn't need to prove himself because his integrity speaks louder than his words ever could. She doesn't fall for the man who avoids emotions. She falls for the one who embraces them, not just his, but hers too, because emotions are not a weakness to her, they're a map, a language, a compass toward healing. And when he sits with her in her storms, when he doesn't flinch at her tears or shut down her fire, she recognizes it. That rare kind of strength that holds space rather than running from discomfort. She falls for the man who doesn't try to fix her. He doesn't see her as broken or too complicated. He doesn't shrink in the face of her past or try to simplify her journey. Instead, he respects it. He walks beside her, and that, to her, is more romantic than any candlelight dinner or poetic text. Because real love isn't found in grand gestures, it's found in the quiet knowing, I'm not here to save you, I'm here to walk with you. She falls for the guy who doesn't make promises he can't keep, because she's had enough of empty words. She's learned that real love isn't built on fantasy, it's built on action. So when he says he'll show up, and he does, when he tells her he cares and proves it through his patience, his effort, his loyalty, she starts to believe again. Not just in love, but in herself. She falls for the guy who doesn't need control. He doesn't cage her freedom or shrink her wings. He celebrates her independence, encourages her growth, because he's secure enough in himself to know her strength isn't a threat. It's a gift. And when he holds her, he does so with open hands, not a closed fist. She falls for the guy who doesn't rush the process. The one who takes time to build, slowly and sincerely. He doesn't pressure her into love. He lets it unfold like seasons, each moment meaningful, each layer intentional. And because he honors time, she learns to trust the timing. She falls for the guy who doesn't hide from responsibility. He owns his mistakes. He apologizes with depth, not excuses. He doesn't blame her when things go wrong. He doesn't run when life gets messy, because he knows love isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's hard conversations, vulnerable nights, learning and unlearning together. and he's willing to show up for all of it. She falls for the guy who doesn't forget the small things. The way she likes her coffee, the song she hums when she's nervous, the fact that silence sometimes speaks louder than words. Because she's realized the little things aren't little, they're everything. She falls for the guy who doesn't see love as possession. He doesn't try to own her, control her, or define her worth. He sees her as his equal, not above, not beneath, but with. A partnership built not on dependency, but on devotion. She falls for the guy who doesn't disappear when things get hard. Because that's what separates the boys from the men. Anyone can show up when it's easy. But the one who stays when she's vulnerable, when she's breaking, when she's doubting herself, that's the one she trusts. Because love isn't proven in comfort, it's proven in chaos. She falls for the guy who doesn't silence her voice. He doesn't feel threatened when she speaks her truth. He listens, he learns, he leans in, because he understands her voice is her power. And when she uses it, she isn't attacking, she's opening a door to intimacy, to understanding, to growth. She falls for the guy who doesn't abandon himself either. He's not perfect, but he's committed to growth, to healing, to being better, not just for her, but for himself, because he knows a man can't truly hold space for a woman until he's held space for his own wounds. And that kind of self-awareness, that's what turns love into something unshakable. She falls for the guy who doesn't confuse passion with possession, who knows how to love fiercely but not desperately, because he has his own purpose, his own fire, and he sees hers as something to honor, not dim. She falls for the guy who doesn't need to be her everything, because he knows she is already whole. She doesn't need saving, she needs seeing, and he sees her, not for what she gives, but for who she is. She falls for the guy who doesn't fear her power, because he has nothing to prove. Her success doesn't threaten his identity. Her dreams don't make him insecure. He stands beside her, not in front of her, because he believes in we, not me. She falls for the guy who doesn't apologize for loving deeply, the one who says I love you and means it, who isn't afraid to be soft, kind, present. Because vulnerability isn't weakness to him, it's strength. She falls for the guy who doesn't let pride win over connection. He doesn't let ego destroy intimacy. He chooses humility over being right, presence over defense, repair over retreat. She falls for the guy who doesn't take her soul for granted, who knows that behind her smile is a history of healing, of resilience, of silent battles fought alone. And still she chose to love again, to open her heart to trust, so he doesn't treat her like she's replaceable. Because he knows a woman like her, she's a once, in a lifetime type of soul, and in a world full of noise, she hears the clearest love in what he doesn't do, the drama he doesn't bring, the confusion he doesn't create, the lies he doesn't tell, the love he doesn't withhold. So if you're listening to this and wondering how to be the kind of man she falls for, start with what you don't do. Don't make her question her worth. Don't disappear when she needs you most. Don't confuse her spirit with your silence. Instead, be steady, be soft, be sincere, because she falls for the man who lets her rise, not just in love, but in life. And when she finds him, she doesn't just fall, she flies. A woman of strength and depth doesn't fall for grand gestures or sweet talk. She's not easily swayed by candlelit dinners, extravagant gifts, or poetic words spoken in the heat of moment. These things may catch her attention, but they don't capture her heart. Because her heart is not a prize to be won through performance. It's a sanctuary that only opens to truth, consistency, and emotional safety. She's not impressed by noise, she listens for energy. She watches for how a man behaves when no one's watching. She notices how he responds when she's quiet, when she's unsure, when she's vulnerable, and she falls, not for the man who dazzles her in public, but for the one who respects her in private. She falls for the man who doesn't make her question her worth, because she's fought too long and too hard to claim it. She stood in front of mirrors doubting her reflection, battled voices, some external, some internal, that told her she was too much or not enough. She's walked through heartbreak, betrayal, silence, so now she's not interested in being around anyone who makes her wonder if she matters. If a man's actions make her feel invisible, overlooked, or small, she doesn't beg for love. She walks. Because her worth isn't negotiable. It's not up for debate. She falls for the man who doesn't make her question her intuition. Because her intuition is sacred. It's her compass, and she's learned, sometimes the hard way, what happens when she ignores it. When she silences that inner voice just to keep the peace, when she doubts herself just to keep someone else comfortable. She's been gaslit, dismissed, labeled as too sensitive or dramatic, when in reality she was just tuned in. So now she values the man who listens when she speaks, who trusts that she feels what she feels for a reason, who honors her emotional intelligence. A man who makes her feel safe in her own knowing. That's rare, and she knows it. She falls for the man who doesn't make her question her place in his life. Because confusion is not her love language, she's not interested in guessing where she stands, decoding mixed signals, or chasing breadcrumbs of affection. She's not here to audition for the role of almost. She craves clarity, not chaos. She values directness over drama. When a man is sure of her, he makes it known, not just in words, but in presence, in priority, in effort. She falls for the one who chooses her, clearly and consistently, not out of convenience, but out of conviction. Because at the end of the day, love, true love, isn't proven by what you say when it's easy. It's revealed by what you don't do when things get uncomfortable. She doesn't fall for performance. She falls for presence, for emotional maturity, for integrity, for energy that doesn't drain but sustains. A woman of strength and depth doesn't fall for the illusion of love. She falls for the experience of it. The quiet moments, the honest conversations, the consistent actions. The safety of knowing she never has to lose herself just to be loved. That's the kind of man she falls for. Not the one who puts her on a pedestal only to knock her off when it suits him, but the one who sees her fully, stands beside her humbly, and never, ever makes her question her light. In a world full of distractions and emotional games, where temporary thrills often replace real connection and people swipe left on hearts without even looking into souls, it takes something extraordinary for a woman of depth to truly give her heart away, because she's seen it all. She's seen the smooth talkers who say everything right but do everything wrong. She's met the ones who pursue her relentlessly until she opens up, until she starts feeling something real. And then, like clockwork, they pull away, disappear, as if love was just a game they played until it started requiring truth. So now she's cautious, not closed, but careful, because she knows love isn't just about chemistry, it's about consistency. It's about energy that doesn't vanish the moment it's asked to stay. It's about a man who doesn't crumble under the weight of emotional intimacy. She gives her heart to the man who doesn't manipulate. He doesn't twist her words, play with her mind, or try to control her through silence, guilt, or doubt. He doesn't love her with strings attached. He doesn't make her question whether she's being too emotional or too demanding because he wants her to be her full self. He doesn't pretend not to understand her needs just to avoid meeting them, because he's not in it for power. He's in it for partnership. And to her, that's everything. She gives her heart to the man who doesn't disappear when things get real. Because real love isn't just about the good days. It's about the moments when things get hard, when communication breaks down, when triggers rise and healing is messy. She doesn't need a man who shows up for the highlight reel. She needs the one who stays through the unfiltered, the unspoken, the uncomfortable. He doesn't vanish at the first sign of vulnerability. He leans in, he listens, he holds space, and that's the kind of presence she can trust. She gives her heart to the man who doesn't treat love like a convenience. Because she's not here to be someone's when it works, when I feel like it, or when it's easy. She's not here to be loved only in moments of excitement or silence in moments of struggle. She's not interested in someone who only reaches for her when it's convenient, when they're lonely, when they're bored, or when no one else is around. She's looking for depth, not distraction, for something rooted, not reactive, because to her, love is sacred. It's not a placeholder, it's not a pastime, and the man who treats it that way, he doesn't get access to her heart. The man who does get her heart is rare, not because he's perfect, but because he's present, because he doesn't see love as a game to win, but a journey to grow through, because he shows up. Not just with charm, but with character. He's not afraid of depth, not afraid of her truth, not afraid of showing his own. In a world full of players and pretenders, she chooses the one who's real, the one who doesn't run, the one who doesn't manipulate her emotions just to keep control, the one who doesn't view her as an option but as a mirror, someone who reflects his own readiness, his own depth, his own capacity to love fully. Because love for her isn't casual, it's not a passing mood, it's an intention, a sacred commitment, a daily choice. So when she finds a man who treats love with the reverence it deserves, who doesn't play with hearts like toys or disappear when things get heavy, that's the man she gives her heart to. Not because she needs him, but because she chooses him. And for a woman like her, that choice is powerful. Because once she gives her heart, she gives it with everything she has to the one who's proven he'll hold it, not hurt it. ChatGPT said, love for her is sacred. It's not a transaction. It's not entertainment. It's not something she gives lightly or falls into blindly. It's something she holds with reverence, something she protects, nurtures, and honors with every fiber of who she is. Because to her, love is not just a feeling, it's a force, a living, breathing energy that deserves truth, devotion, and depth. She's not interested in surface-level connection. She doesn't want a highlight-reel romance filled with filtered pictures and empty captions. She wants something real, something rooted in presence, in trust, in emotional freedom. To her, love is sacred because it's a gateway to soul expansion, to healing, to the deepest form of intimacy two people can share. It's the merging of stories, wounds, hopes, and futures. So she doesn't fall for the man who only wants the pretty parts of her. She falls for the man who doesn't run from vulnerability. The one who can hold eye contact when she's crying, who doesn't flinch when she's expressing her fears, who doesn't get uncomfortable when emotions rise. He doesn't shame her for feeling deeply. He doesn't shut down or deflect. Instead, he meets her there with presence, with empathy, with stillness. Because he understands vulnerability is not weakness, it's where love breathes. She falls for the man who doesn't seek control. Because she's not a woman who can be tamed or confined. She is wild in the most beautiful way. Wild in her truth, her dreams, her emotions, her depth. And she's not here to lose herself for love. She's not here to be someone's possession, someone's project, or someone's emotional crutch. She falls for the man who respects her freedom, who values her independence, who doesn't try to mold her into a version that suits his comfort. He leads with trust, not fear. And he understands that true connection isn't about ownership. It's about liberation. She falls for the man who doesn't take her soul for granted. Because she's not just giving him time, affection, or attention. She's giving him access to her essence. Her softness, her laughter, her scars, her silence, her sacred space. And that is not a privilege she gives to just anyone. So when a man receives that access and treats it carelessly, when he becomes complacent, entitled, or distracted, she withdraws. Not to punish, but to protect what's holy. But the man who doesn't take her for granted, he becomes her safe place. Because he sees her not as a trophy to display, but as a soul to understand. He doesn't just admire her light. He respects the darkness she had to walk through to find it. He doesn't just enjoy the warmth of her love. He honors the strength it took to keep her heart open after everything she's been through. To her, love is sacred because she is sacred, and she will only pour into a man who recognizes that. A man who shows up with humility, with intention, with reverence. The one who knows love isn't just about how he feels, but how he treats her, how he holds her heart when it's tender, how he respects her boundaries when they're firm, how he commits to understanding her even when it's not convenient. She falls for the man who doesn't shrink from her fire, who doesn't silence her power, who doesn't see her love as too much, but as something worth rising to meet, because love for her is a choice every day, a conscious offering, a sacred exchange. And only the man who knows how to receive it, with grace, gratitude, and growth, only that man will ever know the fullness of her heart,